people need to go back to the realization of Carnival being deeply rooted in resistance and knowing that
Mm-hmm.
resistance is all over. And like part of that resistance is, okay, well, if they're not showing people that look like me, I'm just going to show up anyway.
Welcome to the Island Girls Rock Podcast. Here, we honor the stories, voices, and everyday magic of Caribbean women and girls across generations. Let's get into today's conversation. Hello, everyone. We're back. Island Girls Rock. How's everyone doing? I know the world is a little mad right now, but I'm hoping that you're managing to keep, some type of joy, some type of ease. Try and cultivate it. I know it's challenging, but try your best, okay? It's important. We love you. All right. So I am rather, rather excited about this episode for so many reasons. And one of the reasons being that this guest is our second Nevisian ever. You hear? She's as excited as I am ever in the history of our podcast. So I'm very excited. I'm also excited just to speak to her, to find out more about her amazingness. But before I reveal, I'm going to do the official thing. I'm going to let you know a bit about our guest. Okay? So, our guest today is someone who carries the Caribbean story with care and curiosity. Simone Mills, known online as Everything Sim Simmer, whoop, is a first generation American Caribbean creator, proudly representing St. Kitts and Nevis. A New York native with deep island roots, Simone holds a master's degree from NYU, hello, where her research explored Carnival as a form of resistance. I cannot wait to get into this with her. A study that deepened her commitment to honoring and amplifying Caribbean heritage through her work. She graduated from Fairfield University with a BA in politics and minors in Black Studies and Latin American and Caribbean Studies. And during her time there, she received the William J. Kramer Humanitarian Award. Huh. Simone has been an active voice for inclusion and change, from serving on the President's Diversity Council to showing up at community process and advocacy spaces. Her experiences across Latin America and the Caribbean, from studying human rights and practicing Spanish in Costa Rica to leading immersion trips in Ecuador and drawing on field notes from Guatemala, have shaped her as a creator, scholar, and storyteller. At her core, Simone is an advocate, an explorer, and a very, very proud Caribbean woman who uses her digital platform to celebrate culture, connection, and community with authenticity and joy. So, without further ado, y'all, Simone Mills. Simone, welcome.
Hi! It's such an honor to be here.
Yes, we're so happy that our schedules finally aligned. And I know I would have mentioned this when I was telling the folks a bit about you, but I want you to let us know who you repping.
Well, the one and only St. Kitts and Nevis, but very namely Nevis.
Yes, Queen City Owali in the house. I'm
Yes.
so happy. I'm so proud. And you know what, Simone? Something occurred to me when I was, reading your bio. There's something that I didn't mention that really blew me away because not only do you speak Spanish, but you speak an indigenous language. Do you not?
Yes. I've definitely lost a bit of it, but while I was at
Hmm.
NYU, I did study Quechua, which is an indigenous language to Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia. And it was something that I took my entire time at NYU.
Hmm.
It's a really interesting and intentional language.
Hmm.
It's so intentional that the modern words that we have now, like car, aren't
Hmm.
even real words in
Wow.
Quechua. So you kind of have to use like prefix and suffixes from Spanish
Hmm.
to kind of make it work. And Quechua, but yeah, I was, fortunate enough to be able to learn from a really, really great scholar at NYU
Mhm.
about an Andean indigenous language. So yeah.
I mean, girl. I was like, excuse me, Miss Mills? An
I know,
indigenous
it's surprising.
language? Yeah, that is so beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
if
so
you ask
beautiful
me
to
my name, I could tell you my name, but
tell
I don't know if
me.
I could have like full on conversations anymore just because like
Okay.
no one,
Okay.
yeah, no one's speaking Quechua on a daily basis, so I've kind of
Right.
lost it, but yeah.
So how do you say what is your name?
So I would say, like, if somebody asked me my name, I would say, and again, it's a very intentional language.
Hmm.
So even the way like you talk about certain
Hmm.
things is intentional. So I
Right.
would say Nokakani Simon Cha. Simone with cha at the end is like a feminine version of Simone.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really intentional language. So yeah, that's how I would say that.
Simone, I just got goosebumps
Yeah, you should look
listening
it
to
up.
you speak. It went straight, like my body was, I actually am looking at my arms. Seriously.
You should check it
Wow.
out. It's a pretty cool language.
Okay.
It's obviously one of those languages that's kind of dying out. Hopefully, like, throughout
Mm.
the next couple of years, people really
Hmm.
start taking it up. This happens like even when we think about in the Caribbean, specifically Creole is like kind of one of them. Like
Yes.
nobody even knew like Trinidad had Creole, so it's kind of like that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Wow. Okay. So I was fangirling over that and really had to start with that because I paused. I'm like, wait, Simone speaks an indigenous language. Okay.
yeah,
That's major.
yep.
That's major. But Simone, you have built a really beautiful way of telling our stories. And when I say our in this conversation, I mean Caribbean stories, right?
Yep.
So you found this really beautiful way of telling our stories through a digital lens. But before, the digital world blew up, before the campaigns, before the creative work, who was Simone as a young girl? Where did you grow up? And what shaped the way you see and share stories now?
Yeah, so I was born in New York, um,
Hmm.
spent the first like 6, 7 years of my life in Nevis,
Mm.
and then went to New York, back to New York, grew up in New York, but would spend summers and holidays in Nevis. So that was kind of like my upbringing between
Mhm.
New York and Nevis. Um, I would say like when I went to college, because I went to what's classified as a PWI, predominantly white institution.
Yeah.
Those kind of spaces oftentimes make you hone in on your blackness, especially
Mhm.
coming from a place like New York where it wasn't unusual to have like another West Indian in the classroom or
Mhm.
somebody with like a similar background. So
Yes.
while at Fairfield, that's why I picked up all those crazy minors because I was like really honing in on my blackness, being from the
Mhm.
Caribbean, that kind of stuff. I kind of found passion in, all things of and for the Caribbean. I started my platform doing food stuff.
Yes.
One of my cousins, we were out at dinner and she was like, like you always take pictures of your food. Like you should just start a food page. So
Right.
jokingly enough, like November of 2016, I
Uh-huh.
started one. It
Okay.
was called Sim Sima Eats the World.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah. So that's how it started. And when I started, it was all food. Like
Hmm.
nobody knew who was behind the page. It was kind of like if you knew, you knew.
Right.
But like I didn't show my face much. It was just like all food things.
Mm.
So one Labor Day, I accidentally, and I use the term accidentally like very comically,
Hmm.
um, posted my Labor Day shenanigans on my foodie page instead of my personal Instagram.
Okay.
The next day, there were like a bunch of DMs asking, "Oh, like what's this about?" Blah blah. Like, I was like, "Oh, you guys are interested in this kind of content." So then I started
Mm.
pivoting, and that's when I started including like more cultural related things. And
Yeah.
then naturally, travel followed. The things that I was, because at that time I was like already at NYU studying and really putting in a lot of work to learn about Carnival and it being rooted in resistance. So everything
Right.
kind of tied in together. So it
Mhm.
just kind of happened naturally, and that's how we're here today.
And we're very grateful for
Yeah.
you and that you had the courage to go with the pivot, like the accidental pivot, right?
Yeah. And then 2020, everyone's trying to figure out what they're doing. So I was like, I can't
Mm,
keep this name anymore because it's so much more than eating the world.
right.
So then I was like, maybe I should just. At first, I was like, oh, I should do like buy Simone, but so many people had like buy whatever or like,
Hmm.
I really wanted Simsima, just my handle to just be Simsima, but some random guy has that, and I
Right.
was like, okay, I guess it's not meant to be. So I came up with everything Simsima, Ting
Yeah.
with Ting because of the drink, and I felt like
Yeah.
it was West Indian. You ask any West Indian about Ting, they usually know
They
about it.
know
Exactly.
exactly.
So I needed to give it a little personality, and that was a little bit of personality that I gave it.
And I think it's perfect actually. And even, even the handle Sim Simmer, if you are of the Caribbean, you know immediately what we
Exactly.
think of and
Yep.
what we start to think and sing when
Yep.
we hear Sim Simmer. So you dug down even more with everything Sim Simmer. For
Yep.
me, it's so clear. Oh, this person, whatever they are doing, this person is of Caribbean heritage. So let me just find out Wagwan, right?
Yep.
And I
Exactly.
love that. I really, really love that. So, when you think about where storytelling is now in all its forms, because there's been such a huge leap from 2020 to where we are now, what is moving you the most about how Caribbean people are expressing themselves online?
I moved on so many different things. I think Twitter for sure. Like I
Hmm.
know I'm usually like on Instagram and
Hmm.
TikTok, but even on Twitter too, I would see like a lot of people having dialogue about like even most recently what's going on in the region between the
Yes.
region and the United States. Like people,
Yes.
really advocating
Hmm.
about this comfort on the CARICOM and like what it means to be CARICOM, standing on all fronts and
Hmm.
like if one person steps out, then it's not a community and we're not all one CARICOM. So people I'm really, really grateful to see that people are using their platforms. But on a much lighter note, it's great to see like creatives taking their creativity a lot more seriously, but also more importantly, gaining the support, right? So even if we think of
Yes.
most recently in St. Kitts and Nevis, but
Hmm.
namely St. Kitts,
Hmm.
the national government starting the creative division of
Yeah,
the
the
government.
creative economy. Yes.
And realizing like this isn't something that people just do as a hobby anymore. Like
Hmm.
people are making huge careers out of it who are not only
Hmm.
making money, but they're now offered different opportunities to travel abroad, to do different things.
Mm,
So it's just great to see that because I think for even when, even like 3, 4 years ago, we didn't even have like the support that we have right now,
yeah.
right? Like I remember
Yes.
when I moved back home during the pandemic, it was kind of hard to like get some business owners to like really buy into like
Yeah.
helping them because they didn't
Hmm.
really understand the concept or like see the value. But I feel like if I approach them now, they'll definitely see the value because
Yes.
it's definitely a much like it's wider received now than before.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure. Digital storytelling has proven itself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, as you said, the buy-in is a lot easier. I'm
Yep.
not saying that things are perfect because there's lots of room for improvement. But even for me being home 3 years, there's been a marked difference in when I first came home to now, where I was reaching out to people and saying, hey, even for us to collaborate or partner with them for Island Girls Rock, there is much more openness now to that, especially for a lot of our digital initiatives. So I love it. It is, of course, there's always room for improvement, but things have
Yeah.
definitely come a very long way. And I feel, honestly, that especially here in Nevis, that has a lot to do with you,
Hmm.
Cash, Nikiva, Winnie L, just really taking up space in a very authentic manner
Yeah.
and telling our stories for many different, and from many different realms.
Hmm.
With Winnie L, it's a lot of it is of course wellness focused,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
With Nikiva, it's health, it's dance, you know? With
Yep.
Simone, I think, luxury, events, restaurants, Carnival, and I really want to dive a little deeper into Carnival as resistance. But just, yeah, and of course, St. Kitts, I can't even name them by name because maybe it's out of my generation, but I know that there are a few people who I very
Yeah.
intentionally follow because I trust
Mm-hmm.
them, right?
Yep.
And it is about building trust. And I think that's what's happened here in the Federation is that there's more trust. That
Yes.
I'm not just coming to you because I want to get paid. I'm
Mm-hmm.
coming to you because I really believe in the way that we tell our stories and how we, are perceived globally. And I feel as a storyteller, as a digital storyteller, that I can really add something of value to that. And so I think there's more trust in those kind of partnerships that's been fostered.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think, now that there's like a level of trust, people would have seen like your level of work. I mean, even think about Island Girls Rock too. Like people are able to buy in more when they've already seen the
Yeah,
product, right?
yeah,
Already
for
seen
sure.
you're capable of. Everyone's always a little hesitant at first because they have no idea
Hmm.
about the concept or about what you're about to bring. But if you can
Hmm.
prove yourself, like there's definitely a lot more buy-in.
Yes, for sure. One thing that I've noticed about you, because that space can be very noisy,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
But I always find that you have a very grounded energy. Like you pop up when you have something to say,
Yeah.
right? And I never feel like you're popping up just because you feel like it's the algorithms or that you have to stay relevant. You pop up when you have something to share, when you have
Hmm.
something to say. And so I'm going to lock in.
Yep.
You have a really grounded energy, which, and working in a space that changes every day. How do you maintain that?
There's a couple ways, but
Right.
first off, like definitely something I've learned, just like going to therapy and all that stuff,
Mm.
is setting boundaries. But boundaries for everybody looks different, right? So
Hmm.
personally, for me, I use Instagram sleep mode. So for 12 hours, like my Instagram's on sleep mode.
Yes.
So that's one thing that I do. But I also just like don't I no longer pressure myself to like post just because. Like I want it to be intentional. Like I want to feel good about the stuff that I post.
Hmm.
So sometimes, like I'll have an idea about something and I won't execute it for a couple months because I'll
Yes.
have to sit on it. But I don't feel the need to like pressure myself to like sit okay, like if I don't if I'm not posting frequently enough, which is true. Instagram,
Hmm.
declines my
Yes.
reach or like push it
Yes.
as much. I'm not really pressed about it. Like like I'm not pressed about like the numbers, the followers. Like I feel like once I'm able to tell a story authentically and it reaches the right people, like I feel good about it.
Yes.
I'm not pressed about like having a lot of followers or a lot of likes
Hmm.
or a lot of engagement. Like once it hits who it's supposed to hit, it's all
Yes.
good for me.
I love that. And I also find that a lot of businesses are recognizing that
Yeah.
they can't base your value or your impact just by likes,
Hmm.
right? And just by the number of likes, I should say, because it's really about quality versus quantity. And yes, there's always going to be people that are driven by how many followers you have and, all of that. But truly, I find that there's been a shift in only going by numbers,
Yep, that's true.
right? So yeah, I hope that people that are listening and who are thinking of, maybe I should expand in this space, or maybe just wanted a sign that I don't have to have like 20,000 followers or 100,000 followers, or have everyone like every post to have impact. I really hope so. And I hope that their voice, they understand and recognize that their voices are needed also. I
Yeah.
think in that space, um, there's a term, and I'm not really up on all the things, Simone, but it's like, is it micro influencer? Is that what
Yeah, so
people?
there's
Right.
yep, there's nano, there's micro, there's mid, there's a a whole bunch of different tiers.
Right.
Depends on who you ask, will allocate you in
Mm.
the different tier. But yeah, there's
Mm.
nano, micro, mid, large. I forget the
Mm.
exact term. But yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. See, tips from Everything Sim Simmer, people.
Yep.
So I actually one of the things that I have witnessed with you and that I really love and admire is the fluidity you have in shifting through cultures and identity, and you move through them with ease. I find that, yes, we know that you are Nevisian.
Yep.
Yes, we know that you rep SKN 869
Always.
all day, every day. But
Always.
we also recognize that you are a Black American woman,
Yep.
right? And there's elements of that culture that come through and that you journey through with so much ease, and which lends, I feel, to your storytelling. And so I guess for me, I want to know how that dual identity has helped to shape the way you understand belonging.
Yeah. It's crazy because I often have this conversation with my friends who are also first generation.
Hmm.
And it's sometimes you're too West Indian for the American folks.
Right,
Because, like maybe like throwback hip hop tunes you don't understand, which happened to me my
right.
entire college career. Like I'd be at parties
Really?
and people would be like, "You don't know this song?" And I'm like, "Nah, but put on a soca song, I know that."
You're there.
So yeah, it's always a struggle of being like too
Hmm.
West Indian for
Hmm.
American folks, but also being too American for your West Indian family. So
Right.
it's definitely a struggle sometimes. I'm not gonna lie,
Hmm.
but I think it's also made me just hone in on, like my identity and just like being really grateful that not only am I American, but I have this amazing like background that I come from that's full of culture, a place that I literally call home because it's where I feel the most at home.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, that's
Hmm.
that's how I navigate it.
Okay. Okay. And speaking of home, one of your loves, which is very, it's evidenced, is Carnival, right?
Yep.
And in reading up and doing my research on the amazing Simone Mills and discovering that, you know, your degree, most of it, well, not most of it, but in terms of your specific study of Carnival being resistance, I
Hmm.
really want to explore that some more for several reasons. Number one, because Carnival has grown so much globally, I don't think that the late adapters, those who have just been introduced to Carnival, are absolutely understanding what Carnival, the significance of Carnival, the roots, the intentionality behind it, in that it is one of our earliest forms as Caribbean people of resistance. So for me, it's why did you choose that subject? Number one. And number two, what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So okay, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I know. One
I
piece at a time. Why Carnival is resistance? Why?
yeah. I want to touch on what you said first, though, like
Okay.
about like the newcomers not really knowing what Carnival is about, and
Mm,
that's something that I see all the time, and and that's the reason why I put out the content I put out, right?
right.
I try to put out things that include people telling their own stories and like it coming directly from the source and not from a third party, aka myself,
Hmm.
even if I'm knowledgeable in the topic, namely Grenada and Jab Jab.
Yes.
There's a really good scholar, Ian Charles, who I often highlight because he's a scholar in all things jab jab. Like he can give you the entire rundown, right?
Right.
I don't think it's my business to go and tell somebody else's story. I'm not from Grenada. My
Yes.
parents are not from there. My grandparents not from there. I'd much rather it come directly from the source. So that's one.
I agree. Yes.
So with that being said, you often see folks participating in Carnival, and they sometimes it's just they really don't know. Like
Hmm.
you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
But on the same note, I do think they're doing themselves a disservice by not really honing in on what Carnival is about, right? And with
Hmm.
that being said, Carnival is deeply rooted in resistance and formed out of it. The main reason why I decided to focus on that for my master's thesis, I love Carnival.
Hmm.
I really wanted to do, like, in my entire cohort, everyone was doing things in Latin America.
Okay.
I was the only one doing my thesis on a place in the Caribbean. So that was the first thing. I wanted to be different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
And another thing too, when I was doing my preliminary research, I couldn't really find like a lot of scholarly work and
Mm.
sources, like physical sources on
Hmm.
carnival and resistance. So that was also another thing that led me to being like, okay, I really need to lock in and just like make this a thing. Like it's gonna be difficult because the resources are not there,
Hmm.
but I know like the argument that I'm trying to make is 100% correct because I've lived it,
Yes.
right? So that was my main reason. Just putting my love into something that's academia based.
Yeah.
Now, when I was doing my research, I was lucky enough to, I really had two really good sources that helped me from St. Kitts and Nevis,
Oh,
respect.
wonderful.
Yeah, so I know you know Suti Byron.
Yes, I do.
So
Hmm.
he helped me. He actually taught me drums when I was a little girl.
Oh, and
So,
for those of you listening who are not from Nevis, Sooty Byron is a cultural icon
yep.
for sure, and
Mhm.
also history. I mean, as Simone has just said, this is who she asked to assist her with her thesis because the man is like a font of all knowledge,
Yeah.
honestly.
Really? Yeah. So he definitely helped me a lot. I remember we
Mm,
just we had lunch at Turtle Time, and I just
mhm.
recorded the conversation. It was like a free flowing conversation because
Yes,
when you're passionate about stuff like this, it doesn't come like an interview. It kind of comes like a conversation. So
yes.
I remember we did that. I took my little notes, whatever, but it was just like almost like a catch up, but
Hmm.
academia based.
Hmm.
So I did that, and then I also went through our national archives in St. Kitts. And at
Hmm.
the time, I'm forgetting her last name, but she has since passed,
Oh,
unfortunately. Um,
okay.
Victoria, I can't remember her last name,
Mm,
but she was of such great help in helping me navigate and really tying in a piece that I wasn't initially thinking of, which was
okay.
Christmas sports.
Hmm.
So she helped me tie that piece into my argument because I originally was only focusing on Culturama and Sugar Mass and
Right.
yeah, like Carnival in general. But she helped me kind of tie in that piece, which was a very, very vital piece
Hmm.
in its relations to St. Kitts, namely.
Okay.
So yeah, and it was also really cool to navigate our national archives. Like they have such great things. And if you're lucky enough and you want to do some digging, like that's a great place to like find really cool artifacts and
Hmm.
information about the Federation.
I'm really happy that you touched on that
Yeah.
because a lot of people are not aware that
Mhm.
we have a national archive here in
Yep.
St. Kitts Nevis, which
Yep.
blows my mind. But I'm wondering if it's because those that know just don't speak about it enough. I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. Or maybe they don't speak about themselves enough
Yeah.
to
And I
raise
think
the awareness.
that's a good point too. Like I
Mm.
feel I mean obviously we could use a little bit more resources in that aspect.
Hmm.
And I know she was like doing like a lot of work before she passed away to like
Oh, wow.
digitalize things. Like a
Yes.
really really great lady. I can't remember her last name.
We'll find out. We'll find out for sure.
Yes. But yeah, I think if people like knew about it more too, like maybe more people would like do academia based things that
Hmm.
related to St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Hmm. And also, Simone, I mean, is it possible that we could have access to your thesis, or is that something you want to keep to yourself?
Yeah, so I've definitely thought about publishing it,
Publishing
and
it.
that's
Yeah.
yes. I think I just need to like publish it because, and I've been saying that since I graduated. I graduated in 2020, so there's also that. But
But a lot has happened. Let's be
yeah,
real. A lot has happened, right?
yeah, putting it in a journal I think is definitely needed. Just because, like I
Mm.
said, when I was doing my own research, there wasn't much. So I can imagine this would probably help someone. And as soon
Exactly.
as I do that, I would be happy to share with everyone.
Please listen, we're gonna hold you to this, Simone. Okay.
The
We're
pressure.
gonna give you time. We're gonna hold you accountable, give you a time frame. We're gonna say by the end of
2026.
2026. Yes.
Yes,
See?
yes,
See?
yes.
Okay. All right. Good. So listeners, remember this. Everything Sim Simmer, also known as Simone Mills, has said that she will publish her master's
The
thesis, Carnival
pressure.
is Resistance, by the end of 2026. All right, Bree, you
Oh
listening? Put
my
it in the show notes so everyone can read at the end. Remember Simone's promise. We're going to set our calendars every quarter for 2026 to
Oh
send you a
my.
reminder, okay? No, this
I
because your
definitely need to
work,
get it
your academic work is just as integral
done.
to us as your creative work, right?
Yes.
So please, you are telling our stories through two very different lenses, but two very integral lenses, right? So creatively and
Yeah.
academically. So let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I just
Mm,
want to touch on that real quick because what you just said is perfect.
mhm.
Like the fact that I have an academic background, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm a nerd. Like I
No,
hate to
don't,
say it, but
own it. Own the
keep it what it
nerddom.
is,
Own
right?
it.
But I nerd out about stuff like this, right?
Yes.
So because of that, I'm always trying to figure out like the historical context of things.
Come
Like
on
I
now.
literally will be at like some cultural event and be like, oh, this ties to this. Like, okay, for example,
Mm-hmm.
I was in Bermuda last year and I saw
Right.
their goombas and I'm like, everyone's just enjoying it. I'm like at like a cocktail reception. Everyone's enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
They're kikiing, having a great time. And I'm there like, no, there has to be some cultural ties to St. Kitts and Nevis. It looks way too similar to our masquerade.
Of course.
I'm like, I gotta do my research. I couldn't even
Mm-hmm.
wait till I got home. I started Googling right there.
Mm-hmm.
Found out that there were a lot of folks from St. Kitts
Yes,
who
girl.
migrated. Yes.
Yes.
I'm like, this makes a lot of sense. And it's something that you often see in the Caribbean too. Like
Mm.
even Montserrat has similar masquerade and all of them have
Okay.
very similar features,
Mm-hmm.
but they all have like very distinct differences. So anyways,
Absolutely.
that was something that I picked up on. And it's like now because I have this academic background, like I'm always searching for historical context of things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always trying to dig a little deeper to see how things tie together historically. Because to be honest, like we're all just, people say it all the time, but it is true. Like when you think about it, it's just a pit stop off of the ship,
Yes, of course. We
literally.
are.
So
We
there's
are.
so many similarities, but yet spark differences
Mm-hmm.
in our cultures that
Mm-hmm.
is very cool.
Yeah, we're just different variations of the same type of flower, basically. Okay? And
Yep.
even with regards to the masquerade in Bermuda, we had learned about that. We had a really radical history teacher when I was in school here in Nevis. I think Theodore Daniel. And so he would go off syllabus a lot, which we appreciated then, and I appreciate now even more. And we knew that because we had a lot of people going to Bermuda for work from Nevis and all over, in fact. And so you will find, and I say from Nevis very specifically,
Yep.
and you will find, and you will find different iterations and interpretations of the masquerade, which was rooted in Nevis,
Mhm.
which of course is rooted in West Africa. And we there's a book that has been written about Nevisian masquerade, and it was actually traced back to Benin,
Mhm.
right? And I can't remember the name of the book, and I swear my grandfather had it. So he's passed away, but I'm going to go through his library. And it is so fascinating, Simone, right? And I'm
Wow.
like, look at this. This is where, and then you were able to figure out, where most of our enslaved people were taken from
Yep.
because of that. And that is how powerful the connection of creative expression is,
Mhm.
because it is that connector when so much else has been stripped away from us, right? When we couldn't even communicate with each other because we were from different tribes
Yep.
and different countries in West Africa. And we were able to do that through the drum and
Yep.
through creating our own language. I do not believe we speak a dialect. I believe we have different languages. Okay?
Yep.
I don't like when they say, "Oh, it's broken English." Hello. Broken English? No, mate. This is our own language that we
Yep, that's
created
true.
so we could speak to one another. And if you don't understand it, right. But this is not English and it is not broken, right?
Yeah.
So that,
That's a good
those
point.
can, yeah, man. Listen, Simone, we are together in nerddom. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, literally, that's it. I mean, we could go on for days.
This conversation could go on, but next time we will meet up and we will talk all the things, okay?
Yes.
So I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring it back to the digital space, and again, staying somewhat in Carnival. As we have discussed, Carnival has now, it's become a global phenom, right?
Mhm.
Where people from all over who have no roots in the Caribbean are coming to the Caribbean to enjoy. And yes, we do have a responsibility, I feel, to ensure that people have a balanced perspective on Carnival. And a lot of that, for me, comes back to the imagery that is used to sell Carnival, right?
Oh,
So
yep.
the
Mhm.
so the types of
Oh boy.
hold on. Someone's like, "Oh, Lord, we're gonna need another hour." So, so the types of women and men
Mhm.
that are used to promote the costumes, right?
Mhm.
Down to the very costumes that are now being made and sold.
Mhm.
Um, I do feel that for those of us who know better, and I say that we should do better. And I feel that you do,
Mhm.
Simone.
Yeah.
I love that, and I don't, this may sound a little crazy, um, but I love that you are out there as a dark-skinned Black
Mhm.
woman or
Yep.
darker, because I don't even understand all of that. And I'm
Mhm.
like, what? Dark, what? Dark, light, lighter, what? But you understand what I mean,
Yeah.
right? Because the terminology never sits right with me. But that and the fact that you are not a size 2,
Yep. That
and
part.
you wear your costumes with confidence, and you are stunning, and you are showing that. And Trinidad, I'm going to call you out. I
Mhm.
love y'all, but I'm going to call you out on this. Your representation in your presentations for your costumes, right,
Mhm.
needs work.
Yeah.
It needs work, because the impression and the messages that you are sending are that you must look like this to be in this costume and to be deemed beautiful in your costume.
Yeah.
And there is so much harm in that, right? And as Black women of most shades, we already have the world deciding the more Eurocentric you look, the more beautiful you are, right? And so when our own
Mhm.
people perpetuate, and I'm struggling, I'm stammering, when our own people perpetuate that, it is even more harmful and damaging. And so I love seeing you, Simone. I love seeing you in your joyful self, in your beautiful self, enjoying, participating, and owning your carnival imagery,
Mhm.
the way you show up, and the way you present yourself. Right? So I have to say that to you.
Yeah, I want to touch on that too,
Yeah.
on the two fronts. So first off, I would say I spoke about that in my thesis. I talked about the
Mm-hmm.
hypersexualization,
Mm-hmm.
specifically about Black bodies too. But
Yeah.
I would also talk about. I want to also highlight like bands like Vibe Mass, who I partnered with
Mm-hmm.
for 3 years
Mm-hmm.
in Grenada. And the reason why
Right.
I love that particular band so much, like when you talk about inclusivity, that
Oh,
is like I'm talking about not even just like body inclusivity in terms of like skin tone and
yes.
sizes, but also ability. Like there are people on the for 2 years that I've realized, and I'm not one to like kind of like highlight this because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it could be like perceived in various ways, so I just choose not to highlight it. But
Yeah.
I remember the first year I did it, I was like wow, this is like they've made this like really accessible. There was somebody in a wheelchair,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw that person for the 3 years that I've played with them, and that alone meant a lot to me because I'm like, not only are you inclusive about body sizes, um, skin tones that are represented when
Mm-hmm.
launching, but you're also inclusive about accessibility. So
I
that's number
love
one.
that
Like,
because that's
that's something.
often forgotten. That's often
Yeah,
forgotten. Yep.
yeah, of course. And Carnival is meant to be for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also going back to what you were saying, with like, certain body types being focused on more, we still see that nowadays. But I
Yeah.
do think there's been a lot of pushback lately for
Mm-hmm.
bands to like be a little bit more inclusive, like because they'll have like somebody who's still relatively small,
Mm-hmm.
highlighting their full coverage, and it's kind of like that just doesn't make any sense. So
Yes.
people have definitely pushed back. There's been like a lot of discourse about it
Mm-hmm.
that I've seen online, even on Twitter as well, and in various spaces. So I think people are definitely cognizant of it, and the bands themselves too. But
Mm-hmm.
also touching on the topic of being like Black women with darker skin, I
Mm-hmm.
do think, yeah, that's another thing too. Is you often not only see one size, but one particular look, right? And you mostly see that in like certain countries. I'm not gonna name them. You kind of already alluded to it,
Mm-hmm.
but some countries do a uh,
Yes.
better job at being inclusive than others,
Yes. Yes.
and that's something that I've realized. But I do think people need to go back to the realization of Carnival being deeply rooted in resistance and knowing that
Mm-hmm.
resistance is all over. It's not just, you know what I mean? And like part of that resistance is, okay, well, if they're not showing people that look like me, I'm just gonna show up anyway, right?
Yes. Yes.
And owning space like that might just be like what resistance looks like in that case.
Yes, and I love that. And I love that you actually gave that analogy in terms of how resistance can look, because it can look
Yeah.
many ways depending on the situation, right? It doesn't always have to be, we're gonna burn down the plantation type of resistance,
Yep.
right, to be effective. Resistance is, as you said, showing up anyway,
Hmm.
disrupting. Disruption is such a powerful means of resistance, I find. And I say this from experience. Simone, you mentioned partnership, and I do want to touch on that because
Hmm.
a lot of your work is collaborative, right? And the collaborations always seem so perfectly attuned and aligned to who you are and to the stories that you are telling. It seems to come quite naturally to you.
Hmm.
What does meaningful collaboration look and feel like in your world?
Oof. It definitely has to be in alignment with like,
Mm,
things that I stand by, but also more so like things that I'm passionate about. I think it's a lot easier to like organically piece something into the work that you're doing
hmm.
if you feel good about it or if something of passion to you.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel authentic if otherwise. Like it just feels forced. And yeah, like I could try to sell somebody like, I don't know, like a luxury car, but like I don't know, like that wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like
Mm,
it wouldn't be passion. But if you tell me
hmm.
to show up to a carnival, that feels like a little bit more passion to me. That aligns with my passions a little bit more.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think you just gotta like find, and that's another thing too. Like being a creative, you have to find what you're passionate about and hone in on that.
Mm,
People are like, "Oh, you have to have a niche." You don't. You don't really have to have a niche, but you do definitely have to know what you're passionate about because it just makes everything just more authentic, and it just
yes.
doesn't feel forced.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure. And so, Simone, I really would love to continue this conversation with you for another 2 hours. But there is something that I wanted to touch on
Hmm.
before we begin to reluctantly wrap up, and that you have recently been nominated for an award by the
Yeah.
Caribiz Network. Do you want to
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about that and how we can support you? Is it a public vote? Let us know.
Yeah, so I got nominated for Digital Storytelling Excellence Award.
And you say it so casually.
Yeah, um, I'm not gonna lie, imposter syndrome be getting the best of me sometimes. I'm not gonna front, but
Okay.
it's truly an honor.
Mm.
It's always an honor when you like get honored amongst others that are amazing in what they do because it's
Mm-hmm.
my job. When I see my work highly of me.
Right.
Um, yeah, and it kind of makes me want to like edit more videos and post more stuff. It kind of makes me want to lock in a little bit more. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
I don't think this category is a public vote,
Okay.
but the support so far has just been super amazing. The outpour of love has been great, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely repping one single flag and one flag alone. You
Thank you
already know
very much. Thank you.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly, exactly. I'm honored. I'm honored, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah,
And it's a very fitting award. Like, of
really.
course, digital storytelling excellence. Who
Yeah.
else? Who else? But everything Sim Simmer. Who?
Well,
Tell me.
fingers crossed that we
Yes.
bring home a
Yes.
win. Fingers
Very,
crossed.
very proud. So
Thank
proud to see
you.
you being nominated,
Yeah,
right?
it's an
And so
honor.
winning is just the cherry on top. So
Yep,
for us, in our eyes, you are already our winner. And so
thank you.
if the judges, if the committee deem you that too, well, great. But
Yeah,
you're already a winner for us. Simone, you
thank
rock.
you.
You are an island girl that rocks not just for Nevis, because we see you covering Dominica Creole Fest. We see you covering Spice Mass. We see you all over the world giving love and showing up for the other islands,
Yeah,
not just for Nevis. So
yeah,
thank you. Thank you so much for that. It's been
thank you.
such a true pleasure having this conversation with you. I feel like we could have been, at Sip on the Square or Mojo's doing this, and that's what we're
Absolutely.
going to do.
Part two coming soon.
The next time you come home, that
Yeah.
is what we're going to do. Thank you so much for saying yes to us,
No,
Simone.
thank you for inviting me. This has been such an honor, honestly. I'm like truly honored to be a part of this.
Oh, you are part of our community. You are part of the Island Girls Rock community. So it makes sense, man. It
Yeah.
makes sense. Thank you, Simone.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Island Girls Rock podcast. We'll be back soon with more stories, voices, and love from across the Caribbean. You can find us wherever you get your podcast fix. Until next time, walk good.